So, Rehan and Ritika, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Please check if your mic and camera is working properly.
Right.
Yes, Rehan is perfectly fine. Ritika is also fine. Okay, we will start the session as soon as we get some more participants. There are already 31 participants in the meeting. So I would like to say very, very good evening to our speaker, Professor Mrityunjay Singh, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you
Good
hear me?
afternoon, sir. Yes, sir, we can clearly hear you. And you're also very, very clearly visible.
Okay, all right.
Sure, just wait for another 5 minutes, then let them join. Maybe
Yes,
we
yes.
have them join yet.
So in the meeting, I can see a person named Zoom user. So can you please rename yourself and then join the meeting again? So, Diwakar sir, can we start the session? So, as I can see, 83 people have already joined. So, I guess it's the right time to start the session. So, over to you, Rehan and Ritika.
Yes, so I hope many of you have joined. A very good evening and warm welcome to everyone. As all of you know, today is the sixth session of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Workshop Series. I am Ritika Paul, one of your hosts for today, and along with me,
I am Rehan Khan. So today amongst us, we have a very special speaker, Mr. Mrityunjoy Sen, Assistant Professor of Computer Science and Engineering, AIML Department, IEM Kolkata. He worked in the IT industry for over 23 years. Prior to joining IEM, he was associated with Cognizant Technology Solutions as the Associate Director. He also worked in Tier 1 tech giants like IBM and Infosys, primarily in the banking and financial services domain, and in digital technologies as well. He has a vast experience in working for global clients in multiple geographies, including USA, Germany, Switzerland, and etc. He graduated in electronics and telecommunications from Jadavpur University.
so all of you have heard about him. So today our main topic is project management and proof of concepts. Whenever we want to plan and manage a project to successfully complete its listed goals and deliverables, we need project management. And I don't know if you all have heard about the term proof of concepts. So what is it? A proof of concept or POC is basically an experiment intended to show that a program, product, or system can be successfully deployed in the real world scenario. So today, Mrityunjoy sir will be guiding you through this topic and clearing all of your doubts. So I'll be handing over the stage to Mrityunjoy sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ritika. Thank you, Raihan. And very good evening to everyone present in this session. So without wasting much time, I will jump into the topic. And before that, let me share my screen. I have compiled few slides, but I will talk more from my experience point of view. Let me share the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
So, accidentally, I think you got muted. Can you please unmute yourself?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it is clearly visible.
Okay. So the topic, as you see, proof of concept and project management. This is part and parcel of our life when we are into the industry, and also if we are kind of pursuing our career in research organization or a product company. This is something which cannot really ignore, and this topic is something where we do not have much of technical element into it. It is more of a process related stuff, and we should have a very good understanding of that, without which it is going to be very difficult to make the project successful. So agenda that I have thought of covering in today's session and next 1 hour or so is proof of concept. What is it? Why and when we should do POC, and how we should execute a POC so that it becomes a successful one. And then we will talk about what is a project and what project management means. Then what is the importance of a project management? And when we talk about project management, the very important element that comes into our mind is software development methodology. So we will cover that aspect as well. And two mostly used software development methodologies amongst many, Waterfall Model, which is a traditional one. And then we will discuss about Agile methodology. This is the recent trend, and we feel that that's the best suited for POC. And then we'll take a pause and we'll open the forum for question and answer session. So proof of concept. So what is proof of concept? Sometimes we come up with ideas, great ideas, and some of them are really very innovative. But we don't know whether this concept, this idea can be implemented or not, whether this concept idea can be turned into reality or not. So without knowing that, we really cannot take it forward, meaning we cannot really build the solution to implement the idea. So a proof of concept is an exercise, a quicker way of verifying whether the idea can be turned into a reality. In a nutshell, it determines the feasibility of the idea. Okay. Now I will give you an example to make you understand it better. Say, I have some money and I know that, if I invest in stock market, probably I can make good profit. Should I go ahead and jump into stock market and invest all my money there? Probably I will not do that because I am not sure whether I will be able to really make profit or I will incur loss, because there is an uncertainty around it. So what we do, we probably will invest some smaller amount of money there, and then we will see whether am I really equipped in terms of knowledge and I am making profit from the market or not. So if I see that yes, I am able to make money, then I will go ahead with a big bang approach and I will invest probably a larger amount to proceed with my objective. So here the initial money that we invested, I just did an experiment. So that experiment, when we do to check or verify whether the idea can be implemented or not, is called proof of concept. It's just an exercise to verify that idea is feasible or not. Now, very often you will come across two other terminologies. One is prototype, the other one is MVP. MVP means minimum viable product. So what, and we generally, what we do mistakenly, we interchangeably use these terms, but there are finer differences among them. So we need to have a clear understanding what is prototype, what is MVP, and what is POC. So POC, as we already discussed, we focus on the feasibility, the quickest way to check if the idea is feasible or not. So what we develop during the POC is something that is not a working product. And in case of prototype, our focus is POC and prototype is almost same, synonymous, but there is, as I said, finer difference. That difference, prototype means there our focus is functionality. I want to develop some functionality, and then we'll check whether that is working fine or not. So here also the code or the application, that output that we get up as prototype, that is again a non-working product. I mean, that product, that prototype we cannot sell or reuse. Maybe some part of it we can reuse, but we cannot give it to anybody to use it for actual purposes. Now, the other term I said is MVP, minimum viable product. So here our focus is to develop the user experiences. And this is MVP is something which is a base version of the application or the product. And here, and this is something which you can give it to any organization for its regular usage. But here, keep in mind that in MVP, the functionalities will be very minimum. The bare minimum functionalities that you need, only that part will be there. And if that works, so that code will be used, that application will be used in real life. So POC, prototype, MVP, these are the things that we commonly used. And what's the differences, that should be very clear in our mind. Moving to the next one is, when should we do POC? As I said, do we have an idea? If yes, we do have idea, then we check, is it something innovative? Is it something new? If the answer is yes, then we see, are we sure that that can be turned into reality? No, we are not sure. Is there any risk involved? Since we are not sure whether that can be turned into reality, that meaning there is a lot of uncertainty around it. So it involves a lot of risk also. If I try to build that idea and try to build a solution implementing that idea, so I might face a lot of difficulties down the line. So in such situation where we have idea is innovative, but we are not sure whether that is implementable or not, and there is a high potential risk. So what we do in such situation, we decide to do a POC first. And if POC produces a right positive output, then only we take it forward. Otherwise, we drop the idea. So POC is an excellent method for innovative projects when there is a higher risk of potential setback. Now, next is, why should we do POC? So as I said, POC, the primary objective of the POC is to verify whether the idea is feasible or not. But along with that, we also try to achieve some other objective as well. What are those? This is verify if the idea can be implemented in reality. That is our primary objective, which we verify through the POC. But we also check through POC that whatever technology stack that we have thought of, whether we can build the solution or implement the idea using the technology stack or not, whether this technology stack is a right fit for this idea implementation. And when I say technology stack, if I talk about from the application, software application development standpoint, like what application server we should use, what database we should use, what UI framework, whether it's a React or Angular, what programming language you should use, whether Python, Java, .NET, what whether we should use blockchain for security implementation or not. So whatever we have thought of through POC, we check that my technology stack as a whole is good enough to implement the idea. Next comes the architecture. So we also through POC, during the POC, we also verify that the ID architecture that we have thought of, that is fine, that architecture, right architecture is selected. When I say architecture, examples, like whether it's a standard client server architecture or not, it could be your cloud-based solution, could be public cloud, could be private, or could be both hybrid, and it might be SOA, service-oriented architecture using microservices. So whatever you thought of or your architect has proposed, so through POC, you ensure that this you have selected the right architecture. If you need to change anything, you can alter it as needed. The next thing is, now my technology is selected, proper technology, proper architecture is also verified. Now we come up with the, while we develop a small set of functionality, through that we design the solution and we derive the blueprint, and that design pattern will be followed for the larger project. Then during POC, as there are a lot of uncertainty, the idea is at a very nascent stage. We don't know what are the challenges waiting for us. So all potential, I would say major potential challenges can be explored early in the game while we do the POC. Then, as I said, a lot of uncertainties, that meaning there is a lot of risk involved, because without doing POC, if you directly jump into the real project and try to implement the whole idea, then after some time you may realize that your either technology was not right, your architecture was not right, or you need to spend a lot of money which you do not have. So a lot of uncertainties, risk involved if you don't do the POC. So through POC, you basically exploring the unknowns, you are making yourself familiar with what are the unknowns are, and you also come up with the mitigation plan to address your risk. So basically we are minimizing the risk of failure. And then as we do that, after the POC, assume that your POC is successful. So what will happen next? You need to approach, if your POC is successful, that means it is a feasible idea. And you are quite confident that if we implement a solution around that, that can be used by the organization in real life. So you need to reach out to somebody who would be interested in it and will sponsor the actual project. So for that, you need to also do some size estimation and cost estimation. How long that project will continue, what is going to be the effort for the project, how many people will work in the project, and what is going to be the expected estimated cost for the project. So all of these you need to, when you do the POC, you come up with all of these details. So that's the purpose of having the POC. Now moving to, so your idea is great. You are ready to do the POC. You have got the sponsor for the POC part only. But if you don't, an idea is also very innovative, very attractive. But if you do not execute your POC, even if POC is a small project, there is a high chance that you will land up in a failure state. But just because it has happened, because you did not execute the POC properly. So it is equally important that we execute the POC in a more structured manner, in a scientific way, so that you minimize the failure of the POC part. Forget about the large scale project. So how we should execute? Here are the steps. First thing, You conduct research and development, meaning check whether a similar work is already done or not. If it's already there is no point reinventing the wheel. Rather, that's basically tells that it's no more an innovative solution, innovative ideas. If somebody already has worked on that and there is some solution already available. So we should not proceed with the POC. Then we need to specify the need of your idea, meaning who would be interested in your idea for implementation and why they would be interested. Meaning, say you have your idea is related to some healthcare solution or a medical solution. And if you approach an airlines company, will they show any interest in sponsoring the project? The answer obviously is no. So you need to know who would be interested in your project, in your ideas for implementation, and why. That means you need to articulate the benefit of the ideas if it is implemented. So these are the things you should have you should articulate things properly in the beginning of the POC itself. Third thing is define your success criteria. Now you are doing a POC, whether the POC outcome is a positive, negative, whether it's a successful POC or unsuccessful, how will you assess? So in order to assess that, you first need to define your success criteria. Success criteria meaning it can be it will be combination of functionalities, what you initially thought of implementing, whether those functionalities are developed properly or not. Then another aspect would be whether the technology, everything, architecture together, things are working fine. And then what is your say performance of the application. Say your target is that it has to, a page should be loaded between 0.1 to 0.5 within 0.1 to 0.5 seconds. So if you are achieving it or not. So these are the different success criteria which you are going to measure at the end, and what is the expected outcome. So that you should have a very clear understanding at the beginning of the POC, and you should have written it down in the beginning itself. The fourth thing is define the scope of the POC. So the idea is a big one, but POC is a small piece that we do just to verify the whether it is feasible or not. So we cannot implement a large number of functionality as part of POC, and time is the essence. So we have to do it very quick and then develop and sell it. Otherwise, somebody else will kind of implement and get the credit away. So we have to define the scope. What are the functionalities that we are going to implement as part of the POC? What are the things that we are going to verify in the POC? That is something we need to define at the beginning. And then also we should have a very high level estimate, how many people will work, what is going to be the start date and end date, so what is going to be the duration, who all will work, what is going to be their role. So all these things should be estimated in the beginning. So these 5 items are the planning part of the POC, and that you should do in the beginning itself. Now, the next important thing is, so your plan for the POC is more or less done, ready. You have the idea, clear understanding what you are going to evaluate, how you are going to evaluate, how you are going to assess the POC. Then you form the team. Whatever you estimated, you onboard the team. In your team, POC team, you should have the right mix of skills. People should have a right level of experience. Generally in POC, we don't have too many junior resources or junior developer, because it's more of a research related work, a lot of technical nitty-gritties that you need to solve there. So we recommend to have more experienced people in the team, and maybe 1 or 2 junior resources. And you have to have the team onboarded at the right time. Then you develop the solution, meaning you write the code. If it is a software development, then you start build the solution functionality. And then once your development is done, you check whether whatever success criteria you defined, whether you have achieved that. Your POC output is basically giving that result or not. So idea, it should be what we all check as part of the feasibility, whether the idea is technically feasible, whether right technology stack and architecture is selected. Do we need third-party tools? What is going to be the cost for this, cost and effort? What about the scalability? That term is very important, scalability. When we do a POC, we implement a smaller functionality just to check the idea. But we have to keep in mind that if the POC is successful, then I will be developing the other functionalities around it. So my complexity of my application is going to increase. The technology that I have selected, the architecture that I have selected, so that should support that scalability aspect of it. It should scale up without any issues. So, and what are if I implement the larger project, the whole idea, then what would be my possible risk? So that are the certain things that will help you to assess the feasibility. And then you need to finally prepare a POC report, and that you should submit for approval to the right authority. So generally in the POC report, the information that we capture is the objective, who are the target users, outcome, what is the POC outcome, what challenges we faced and what challenges we foresee, risks involved, estimated effort and cost for the whole project. And then if we implement it, what benefits that will be reaped, that are the certain things we capture in the POC. So that's all about how we execute the POC. Now, I'm assuming that your POC is successful. So what next? So here in this slide, there is nothing new. Basically, at the center, you see the ideas. Okay. So you had some good idea, which you using technology and design part, we have given it a shape, and we feel that this can be, the idea can be really implemented. Now, entire idea, not just the POC. So next step would be you need to reach out to business for the final implementation. So business plays the role of your sponsor, and business could be already reputed organization, companies in their respective fields. It could be a research organization, or it can be a startup organization as well. Okay, so if they like it, they will be ready. They will be kind of sponsoring it and take it forward. So this is kind of an POC ecosystem. So that's all about proof of concept. Now we'll move to a project and project management. So POC itself is a small project. Now we will also, okay, now, but the rest of the part, the implementation of the whole idea, it can be a large project. Okay, so your POC may be successful, but when you actually build the final solution of the larger idea or the solution, so that needs to be managed very well. So that's where project management comes into picture. Okay, so your idea may be great, a lot of innovative element is there, but if you do not manage your project well, there is a chance that it will go for a toss. Okay, so we really cannot afford to make that happen. So project management, it should be a very tight project management to ensure that project is executed smoothly. Now, what is project? A project is a sequence of tasks that must be completed to attain a certain outcome. Okay, now it's basically a lot of sequence tasks that will be, or activities that will be executed one after another, and at the end we achieve our end goal. Okay, examples like any software development, then in real estate domain, construction of building, or it could be a relief effort after a natural disaster, or it can be from the marketing point of view, expansion of sales into a new geographic market. So these all are basically different types of project in different domains. So irrespective of what kind of project we execute, there are certain common characteristics we see every project should have. These are a clear start and end date. Every project has to have a definite start date and definite end date. Project can go on for a longer period, but project cannot go on forever. Okay. Second thing, it should have some bit of innovation element. It should create something new. And remember, every project has some boundaries. When I say boundaries, it means project operates within certain constants. What are those? Time. Now, you have to start on a particular date, and you have to, will be a timeline, and you need to finish the project within that timeline. And also, like, whatever you budgeted for the project has to be completed within that budget. So we have the money fixed, and also project should maintain its quality. You have to deliver product with highest quality. And then functionality, like whatever features that you plan to implement, those features should work without any issues, without any hiccups. And then the last one, project is not business as usual, because project is something when we do some development work. The regular maintenance work is not considered as project. Okay. Now, when we have all these characteristics in a set of work or tasks, we can call it as a project. Next is, what is project management? So project is now clear. So now, in order to execute the project, you need to apply certain specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques, so that you ensure that your project is delivered within that boundaries, within those constants. Like, it should not slip the timeline. Timeline is not missed. Project is delivered within budget. Whatever is resources that we estimated, be it human resource, be it software resources. So project is delivered leveraging those resources. There is no extra demand for it, and with highest quality. So that's the project management. Okay, so project management is nothing. It's just you are applying specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. I will explain in detail. Now, when we execute a project or any project, good project manager, or when we manage a project, we basically, it will have 5 different steps. First, initiation, when basically we turn that abstract idea into a meaningful goal. And we kind of, in the initiation stage, we kind of have a kickoff meeting where all stakeholders will be involved, all parties, development team, testing team, then the real end business users, the sponsors. So everybody is involved, everyone gets introduced with others, and then we kind of define who is responsible for what, so that everybody is aware of their responsibilities. And also we kind of know what we also discuss what we are going to do, what are going to be the requirements. All these things are basically finalized in the initiation phase itself. Next is planning phase, which is very important. So there, we in the planning phase, a good project manager is who actually can create a good project plan, a detailed project plan. All the activities, granular level activities, has to be there in the project plan. What is the start date for each of these activities? What is the end date? Who is the owner for that? Who is reviewer? Who is going to sign off? So everything should be captured there, and that plan has to be followed. So even if you have a strong development team, great team members, but if your plan is not good, then project is bound to fail. Okay, so project planning part is very important aspect of a project management. Next come execution and monitoring. So execution and monitoring is basically something which go hand in hand together. So execution is something where development team will keep on developing the features, and testing team will test, and project managers and other program managers and other stakeholders, they will monitor the progress. They will keep checking whether the the output that development team is producing, that is as expected or not, whether we are deviating from the plan. So, and the project manager will have his or her own checkpoints to ensure that we are not deviating from the plan. So these are the certain things that we do in execution and monitoring. And how we do that execution and monitoring, I will cover in detail in the next slide. That is more of a development methodology that we follow. Through that, we ensure this. And closing stage is basically when you deliver, finally you developed, tested, and the product is deployed in the production server, and customer accepted it. They are happy, and then you hand it over. So that's something you will do in the closing phase. So these are the 5 steps that we said is through these are the steps of every project will cycle through. But what are the project management activities? Key project management activities for which project manager is highly responsible for is detailed project planning, resource management, stakeholder management, issues and conflict management, risk management, team collaboration, defect management, schedule management, cost management, and the periodic status reporting to give updates to all the stakeholders. So I'm not going into details of each of these tasks because this task itself will take a lot of time. For the interest of time, I will move to the other topic, that is software development methodologies. Now, I said in the previous slide, if you remember, that execution and monitoring. So project is executed. The third step is we ensure that project is executed well by adopting right development methodologies. So what is software development methodology is all about? So it is the process of dividing the entire development work into smaller pieces. And these smaller pieces you can plan to execute either in parallel or in a sequential way. And through that, you ensure that your project is running smoothly and there is no surprise and it's a successful one. So this methodology is also called, sometimes we call it SDLC, software development lifecycle. So software development methodology, software development lifecycle, these two are same thing. And earlier, in any product development or software development, organization used to follow waterfall model. There are two very commonly used and widely used software development methodologies are one is waterfall, the other one is agile methodology. So waterfall is a traditional model. Nowadays it is not used much. Most of the IT companies, most of the IT organization, even in the product companies or research organization, they also do not follow waterfall model much because it has a lot of limitations. So I will come to that at a later slide. But if you look at it, so how waterfall model works, here I said that you have a project and which is nothing but your set of activities, and here this set of activities are not running in parallel. I said in the development methodology, you have the smaller pieces of work, you break the entire bigger project into small pieces, and you can execute them in parallel way or in sequential steps. Waterfall is basically follows the sequential steps. How? It's like this. First, you do the planning for the entire project. Meaning, in your project plan, you have the activities for all the functionalities, everything. So it is going to be a big project plan. And then we also gather the requirements. So the requirements, when we gather, it is going to be for the entire project, all the functionalities. And once we have the requirements captured, we know what are the requirements, and we got a sign off that yes, these are my full set of requirements. Then we analyze, the development team analyzes the requirement, and team is quite aware of the requirement, whatever queries, doubts they have, they clarify with the subject matter experts. And once analysis is complete, then only they start the design, meaning how it will be implemented. And once design is done, design document is prepared, next step is coding and unit testing. So in this step, development team actually develops the or build the functionality, and development team do their own testing. Now, whatever functionality, small screen or a particular functionality where we do not have a screen, but those small pieces, developer actually, whoever is developing it, they do testing. So that is coding and unit testing. And when you have all the small elements or modules developed, we integrate them and then we do a system testing. So, and system testing is something not done by the development team. We have a specialized QA team, quality assurance team, or testing team, we call it. So testing team will come into picture. They will do the testing, and because they are the experts. And then once testing team gives an approval, okay, the functionality is now working fine. Then there is another round of testing. This testing will be done by the real users. Meaning, say, if I am developing a banking software and the software will be used in banks, then the people who are in the teller machine, the bank tellers, actually, the people who are in the counter, they will be testing the application, because finally they are the folks who will be using your software. So once they are satisfied and they give a go ahead, then only that product will be deployed in the final production server. And that's where project ends. So this is a waterfall model, and here one phase is completed, then only we move to the next phase. So the end user, the real user, will see the value once we deploy the entire module in the production server. And if the project size is big, then and if the project continues for 2 years, then they will see the product first time after 2 years. In between, they are not able to see anything. So customer is not seeing what they are going to get. Okay, so that is a big issue with the waterfall development model. And also, if it's a large project, then it takes a lot of time. Okay, and since you are actually adopting a big bang approach, so if something goes wrong, then that wrong thing is actually propagated across multiple modules. So correcting it is basically very difficult. Now there is a better model which currently most of the software companies, product companies, even in educational institution, they are also following is Agile development model. So what is Agile? Now, Agile, from the name itself, you can get a sense that it's a time-boxed iterative approach. The term iterative is very important. It's a time-boxed iterative approach to software delivery that builds software incrementally from the start of the project, instead of trying to deliver it all at once near the end. So unlike the waterfall model, where we start the project, we pass through all the phases, and then we get the final product at the end, Agile doesn't work that way. So things will be clear if you see the picture like this. So the bottom, you are actually have a bigger stone which you have produced at one go, and it took a lot of time. And the first row, you see, you are building similar thing, but with a smaller pebbles, smaller size stone. You are doing it incrementally. You first develop something, then you identify some other functionalities, you develop that, and you keep on implementing, pushing the newer functionality in an incremental way. So like here, as whatever you see in the picture, that is something written. It works by breaking projects down into little bits of user functionalities called user stories. So the functionalities that I said, in Agile methodology, the term that is used instead of functionality feature, it is called user stories. So we have multiple user stories or features, and we prioritize them, which one is to be developed first, which one next, and which one at the end. And then we kind of implement them in an iterative way. So let me show you like this. So I'm not sure whether the screen is readable for you or not. Like the master story list is that you have set of functionalities, the user stories. You pick up the first 3, and then you have one iteration where you develop only these 3 functionalities, and you launch the application in production server. Then you take another set of functionalities, you complete the second iteration, and then you implement those additional functionalities, and you keep on doing it till you complete the entire project, or you develop all the functional stories. Now, within each of the iteration, I said, so we have multiple iteration, and each iteration is called sprint. In Agile methodology, we call it sprint. The term that we use, each iteration is called sprint. And in each sprint, what we do, the yellow arrow that you see here, first you plan for the selected functionalities or user stories, how you are going to develop that. And remember that each iteration or each sprint actually should not take more than 2 to 4 weeks. So whatever smaller piece you take, that should be implemented within 2 to 4 weeks, not more than that. So you plan how you are going to do it, who will do it, when to start, what are the dependencies that we have, and all of this. And then you do a design. Once the design is done, then we develop. Once the development is done, then we do the testing. If the testing is successful, if there is any defect, then development team will fix it, and then it will be retested, and then finally it will be deployed in the production server. And once that is deployed, then it will be shown, the demonstration will be given to the end user who will use that software. And if they like it, then it will be finally launched. Okay, so all this plan, design, develop, test, deploy, review, all these things has to happen for a smaller set of functionalities, and that has to be completed in 2 to 4 weeks time frame. So after 2 to 4 weeks, customer will see that, okay, something is already in production. So while they are sponsoring the project, every 1 month they are seeing something new coming up. So they will feel more comfortable to invest more in the project. Okay, and you are also taking the continuous feedback. Once you complete one iteration or sprint, customer will basically give you feedback, and whatever things that went wrong, you have the opportunity to correct in the next sprint. So if something which did not go well in sprint 1, then you take proper action so that you rectify yourself in sprint 2. Okay, and then similarly it will be repeated in sprint 3 and so on. So that's how Agile methodology works. And benefits, it has a lot of benefits. That's why it has become the trend nowadays, and nobody uses waterfall anymore. All the organizations, they use mostly Agile methodology. So what are those benefits? Team collaboration enhances here. Speed to market is high because you don't have to wait for long 2 years. Every month you implement something and move it to production. And better customer satisfaction, as customer is seeing something at a regular interval, customer will definitely be satisfied. And that also reduces development cost, because if you make mistake and that mistake is propagated across multiple modules, then you have to correct all the modules. The cost of correcting it is pretty high. So that increases your development cost. So, but in Agile, that is not happening. You make a mistake in one sprint, next sprint you correct it, so that mistake is not getting repeated. So development cost is less here. And all of this together, we have seen that it also enhances the quality of the product. So with that, I see a lot of benefits in Agile methodologies, and I would recommend all of you, all the students, that you do a little bit. I mean, these are some of the terminologies which are new to you. You become familiar with this, and when you do your project, final year project, you make progress, or when you do something new in Innovation Council, please try to follow Agile methodology. You will see the benefit and you will love it. Okay, so, and for the students, also you get familiar with the terminologies during final year interview and all. If you can take or some way, if you can pass the message to the person on the other side of the table that you are aware of these terminologies, you are aware of these processes, the chance of cracking the interview will definitely enhance. So with that, I will take a pause. Thank you, everyone. So, and also open the forum for questions that you might be having. So what do you, Shaurya?
Yes, sir. And I also even got to learn a lot of things, and I would like to implement the Agile model in our upcoming projects also. Thank you so much, sir, for explaining everything so such an interesting way. So the session is now open for the questions. So you can unmute yourself. I will allow all the participants to unmute themselves and ask the questions themselves, or they can write their question in the chat box.
Okay, so I have got a question from a student. So he asks, can you please elaborate on the architecture part of the product? What do you exactly mean by the architecture?
Okay, so there are two things. One is technology. Basically, I would say three things. One is technology, the other is architecture, and third is design. So technology thing, as I said, is like which database you will use, which application server you will use, what programming language you will use to implement the application, and then if you are thinking of what security, if you are planning to use blockchain technology for the security, to enhance the security and all this. So these are all comes under the purview of technology. So you need to select what all things we will use, whether you use Python or Java, all this. So that is one aspect. Now you have decided that you will use Python, you will use some application server, and you will use React as a front end, MongoDB as database. Now that is one aspect. Now, when I say architecture, what it means is, now whether this application is going to be a standard client server project. Standard client server means like or standard client server based web application, whether you want to host the application in cloud or not, what kind of architecture you follow, how the servers will integrate to each other. Meaning, say you have database server, database will reside in one computer, one server, where that server will reside, which IP that will use, whether the database and the application server will reside in the same computer or it will be a different computer. Your database can be reside locally within the premises, whereas your application server can be kind of hosted in any of the cloud, AWS, Google Cloud, Amazon, whatever. So those forms the architecture part. And then what model you will follow, whether it's an MVC model, model view controller or not. So these things actually forms the architecture. And the other part is design. Design is like, what are the common components that you are going to use, how each component will interact with each other, what are the interfaces you will use. So those things, architecture, then below it technology, below it design. These are the three things you should have a very clear. You should define it very clear early in the game itself.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, sir. So there was a question from my side. It's a personal question. So yesterday I was reading about IPFS, Interplanetary File System. So it's basically a decentralized file system where you can upload files on the cloud or storage and it will be decentralized. So this IPFS has some advantages and some disadvantages as disadvantages. So basic advantages are it removes the censorship of anything on the internet. Because like we know in the past as well, China has this golden firewall project which enables the government to take down sites or to ban sites, particularly in some geographic regions, so that there's no revolution kind of thing in the nation or something like that. So my point is, IPFS is a very, it can actually adversely affect the nation and the government and the democracy, to be precise. Because if we remove the censorship from the internet, then a majority of people can approve something on the blockchain or and then make it like it's a decentralized thing. So if I want to spread a rumor, I want to spread something about the government, I can post that on blockchain, and I can have a majority of people approve that thing, and then government can be affected by it, right? So I want your views on this, sir.
See, this is something, it has pros and cons both. Okay. So having things distributed, kind of like if there is one server fails, you have other backup, and also like another thing is like the other aspect is the cons is like you are maintaining two separate things, and synchronizing them is difficult. But again, you're coming to your context is it is very difficult to say anything good or right, because it's a policy that government actually takes. So we have to be, whether it's right or wrong, whether we agree it or
yes,
not,
I understand.
we
It's
have to
rather
implement
controversial.
it. Yeah,
it's rather
but
controversial.
we can leverage the technology to the fullest extent and ensure that. So security plays, as you said, blockchain, security plays a very important role, whatever we do, specifically in industries like banking and government defense sector and all. So security plays a very important role there. So whatever data you have to have a robust security system in place, and there I think blockchain can play a very important role.
Right. So there's another question from a student. It's a very simple yet complex question. He wants to ask you the difference between machine learning and deep learning.
I would prefer to skip it for today's session, because the topic
no
is
problem.
Related to I would rather prefer to answer.
Sir, I think he heard the introduction part where it says that you are the AI ML department faculty, so that's why I think he asked the question. It's not a problem, so no worries. We can skip the question.
No, is there any question, further questions on the topic that we covered today?
Yes, I have received a question. The question is, what is the most desired skill that is required to become a successful project manager? If you could share your experiences, something like that.
Most desired skill. See,
yes, sir.
It is very difficult to say, mention any one or two particular skills. So a good project manager should have a combination. It has to be a package. Okay. I mean, if you say a good project manager, in true sense, the person has to be, the people skill, he should have a very good people skill, first of all, because he has to have all the stakeholder along with him. Nobody should kind of go in a non-cooperative approach. Okay. So everybody has to get all the stakeholders, be it a developer, tester, customer, he has to take everybody to his side. And that happens only when the person has a good project manager, has a good people skill. Why it is more important? Project is a teamwork. So in your project, if we have 10 developer, tester, 10 members there, remember that if 9 people are very good, they are very efficient, technically very strong, and they finish their job on time. But if one person fails and cannot deliver on time, project as a whole will fail. And who will be held responsible? Project manager will be held responsible first. Okay. So he has to have a very good people skill. He has to manage resources well. Second thing is he has to be very good planner. He has to plan things very well. If I take the third one is project manager has to have a he should have a skill of anticipating beforehand what can go wrong, so that he can have proper measures in place so that thing doesn't go out of control.
Absolutely, sir. I totally agree with that. So I'll be now handing over the stage to Sharia, so that from IIC, we will be felicitating you. So over to you, Sharia.
So thank you so much, Ritika, and thank you so much, sir, for giving your time for such an elaborative session in which we got to learn so many things about the aspects of project management and the proof of concept. So this certification is gifted to you from the IIC for being an invitational speaker in the Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Workshop series, which is of 6 sessions organized by IIC IEM on 4th February. So thank you so much, sir, for giving your time.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me opportunity to present in this forum.
And
Wish
we
you all
are
happy weekend and
and
happy
sir, we
Saraswati
are also
Puja.
thank you, sir, and we are also looking forward to have you again on this on other sessions also very soon, and especially in offline mode.
I hope I did not bore anyone.
No, sir,
Yes, sir.
not
No,
at all.
sir, no,
Because
sir,
there
not
was
at all.
not much
We have
technical
lots and
aspect
yes, sir. We
here.
have lots and
It was
lots of
more of a
first year
theoretical
students
thing.
here. We have lots and lots of first year students here who are freshers right now, and they're looking forward to interact with you and learn the industry core skills from you that are required for becoming an aspiring software developer and all.
Yeah, I am always at your disposal. So whenever you feel like, you can give me a
Thank
call.
you so
can
much,
reach
sir.
out to
That's
me
so
directly.
kind of you.
Yes, sir. And since we can see the average participation in all the sessions was above 100, and so this shows that people are hungry to learn even more.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, sir. So now with this, we come to the end of the 6-day workshop series. I hope that all of you like the series very much, and we are looking forward to bring more such innovative and informative series very soon. It will be based on some practical skills like web development, graphic design, or something like a AIML workshop. So we are working on it, and we will come with that very soon. Till then, please take care, and I will share the attendance link. Yeah, Rehan, please share the attendance link to all the participants. So thank you so much, sir. With this,
Thank you. I'm dropping off.